In the freezing winter of 1905, when Korea still lived under watchful eyes and rigid traditions, a young heiress was forcibly taken to an asylum. Not because she was insane, but because someone wanted her to disappear. Her husband, the man she had loved since youth, had sworn to protect her forever. Yet in silence he plotted her downfall. Within the cold walls of the asylum, she heard rumors of a woman wearing her jewels and spending her fortune in the city. With each passing day, hope slipped away, until a secret, hidden for years, threatened to destroy not only the man who locked her away, but everyone around him. What drives a person to condemn the love of their life to invented madness? And more importantly, what happens when that person learns that silence is not eternal? The year was 1905. Korea was living through a period of silent change, yet still marked by rigid traditions and powerful families who controlled land and fortune. Han Soo-yeon, the only daughter of the wealthiest merchant in the Jeolla province, had grown up surrounded by care, but also by envious eyes. Her father, Han Dae-jun, dreamed of seeing her married to a man who would ensure the continuity and prestige of the family. Thus, at the age of 19, Soo-yeon married Min Jae-hwan, a handsome young lawyer of modest origins. To society, the union seemed perfect. He gained status and wealth. She, an educated and promising husband. But deep within Soo-yeon's heart, her love was genuine. She believed in the sweet words he whispered on cold nights and in the eternal promises of protection. The first years of marriage were peaceful. Jae-hwan appeared attentive, took part in the family business, and won Dae-jun's trust. But with her father's sudden death, everything changed. Soo-yeon inherited all the properties and sole control of the bank accounts. The responsibility frightened her, yet she was certain her husband would help her manage it all. What she did not know was that Jae-hwan had already drawn close to someone outside their home. Seo Miran, the daughter of a public official, known for her beauty and boldness. Miran was unlike the respectable women of the time. She laughed loudly, smoked in secret, and spoke of things that shocked every social hall. To her, Jae-hwan was not only an attractive man, but also the key to the life of luxury she had always dreamed of. The affair began in secret, but quickly grew into more than a simple fling. Miran urged Jae-hwan to take full control of his wife's fortune, insisting that a woman was unfit to manage such vast estates. Little by little, he began to convince Soo-yeon that she was overburdened, that mourning her father's death had made her fragile and unstable. "Soo-yeon, you need to rest," he would say softly. "You've been working too hard, and it's affecting your mind." At first, she laughed off these concerns. But soon she realized that, during family gatherings, her husband would discreetly hint that she had become forgetful, nervous, a little different. Small lies piled up, and Soo-yeon's reputation began to be questioned. Then, one incident changed everything. One morning, Soo-yeon awoke to find a pearl necklace that had belonged to her mother missing. When she confronted the maids, they all swore they knew nothing. But when she mentioned it to Jae-hwan, his response was cold. "Soo-yeon, you yourself put that necklace away in your jewelry box. Perhaps you forgot." His tone was not one of concern, but of reproach. Days later, she saw Miran wearing that very same necklace while walking down the main street. The sight made her tremble with rage. When she tried to confront her husband about it, he grew furious. "Enough of these fantasies," he shouted for the first time. "You need help." A few weeks later, a city doctor, well connected to powerful families, was summoned to the house. After only a brief conversation, his verdict was merciless: female hysteria. In the medicine of that era, it was a convenient excuse to control women who thought too much. Soo-yeon begged them not to believe such nonsense, but Jae-hwan had already made his decision. Claiming it was for her own good, he arranged for her to be admitted to Gwanmak Asylum, an institution imposing in appearance but infamous for treating patients like prisoners. The night before her departure was suffocating in its silence. Soo-yeon tried to escape, but the maids, now obeying only her husband's orders, stopped her. At dawn, 2 men came to fetch her. She was placed in a closed carriage, with no chance to look back. As the city stirred awake, Miran watched the scene from the balcony of a nearby house, a faint smile playing on her lips. The asylum gate closed behind Su-Yun with a metallic clang that echoed through her soul. And there, in the damp darkness of an improvised cell, she realized she was not merely being punished, she was being erased. Yet deep in her heart, even surrounded by coldness and abandonment, something within her refused to break. Because she knew that, one day, the truth would find its way out. The Gwanmak Asylum was not a place of healing. Behind its elegant facade lay an abyss of pain and oblivion. Su-Yun was taken to a damp room, its walls peeling, with a small high window that allowed only a faint beam of light to slip through. The bed was a wooden frame covered with a coarse sheet. In the first days, she tried to explain to the doctors that she was not ill, that it was all a mistake. But her words were treated as delusions. The nurses, indifferent, silenced her with harsh stares and doses of a bitter tea that clouded her mind. At night, the screams of other women echoed through the corridors. Some wept, begging to return home. Others spoke to themselves as if conversing with ghosts. Su-Yun clung to her pillow, fighting not to succumb to despair. She remembered her father's hands, strong and steady, and the sound of his laughter on the veranda. Memories that now seemed to belong to another life. On the fourth day, she met Choi Hai-sun, a woman with graying hair and a sharp gaze. Hai-sun had once been a nurse before being committed, accused by her own brother of stealing an inheritance. Like Su-Yun, she was there not because of madness, but because it was convenient for someone. "In here, the truth is the first thing to die," Hai-sun whispered one night. "But if you watch closely, you'll find cracks through which to escape." Those words lit a spark within Su-Yun. She began to pay attention to everything. The guards' rounds, the whispers between staff, the doctors who disappeared some nights to drink soju with city officials. 2 weeks later, she overheard something that would change everything. While scrubbing the corridor as part of a punishment, she passed near the director's office. The door was slightly ajar, and from inside came his voice, speaking to a visitor. "Min Jae-hwan has already transferred 2 more plots to that woman's name." "What was it again?" "Seo Miran." The director chuckled softly. He knows how to be generous when he wants a problem to disappear. The ground seemed to vanish beneath Su-Yun's feet. It was no longer just suspicion. He was handing her inheritance to his mistress, plot by plot, while she withered away inside those walls. That night, she could not sleep. Rage pulsed through her veins, mingled with suffocating fear. But there was something else too. A cold determination. If Jae-hwan thought she would die there forgotten, he was about to discover the opposite. In the days that followed, she began to win the trust of one of the younger guards, Kim Do-hyun, by offering him small coins she had hidden in the hem of her dress on the day of her admission. Curious and somewhat uneasy about the asylum's practices, Do-hyun started to give her small pieces of information, such as the visitor list and the staff's departure times. Through him, Su-Yun learned that Miran would visit the asylum at the end of the month, accompanied by Jae-hwan, to officially authorize the extension of her treatment. That meant that if she didn't act soon, she could spend years locked away in that place. The suspense grew heavier each day. Su-Yun did not fully trust Do-hyun, but she knew he was her only link to the outside world. Hai-sun, for her part, helped conceal messages written on small scraps of fabric, discreetly sewn into the linings of clothes sent to the laundry. One of those messages was addressed to a man she barely knew, but whom her father had mentioned in life. Park Jin-woo, a former business partner of the family. If he still remained loyal to Dae-jun's memory, he could be her salvation. But every step of this plan was dangerous. One denunciation, and she would be locked in isolation, a darker place from which some patients never returned. The night before Jae-hwan and Miran's visit was suffocating. Rain pounded against the windows, and the screams in the corridor sounded like omens. Su-Yun knelt on the floor, not to pray, but to promise herself that she would not cry before them. And when the day arrived, she heard in the distance the sound of familiar footsteps and restrained laughter. Her heart raced. The moment was coming. The asylum gate creaked as it opened. Two black umbrellas crossed the courtyard of wet stones toward the main entrance. From a narrow crack in the corridor, Soo-yeon watched, her stomach twisting. There he was, impeccably dressed, with the same false smile that had once made her believe in promises. Beside him, Miran, wearing a blue silk dress and the pearl necklace that had once belonged to her mother. She was not summoned right away. The director insisted they wait in a visiting room, preparing the environment. But Soo-yeon knew it was all a performance. Hae-sun, always alert, slipped her a small piece of paper that had arrived through the laundry that very morning. It was a reply from Park Jin-woo. "I will be there today. Wait for my signal." Her heart raced. He had received her message. But what exactly did he plan to do? When they finally brought her into the room, Soo-yeon kept her head high. She wanted Jae-hwan to see her strong, even in her worn dress and with the marks of sleepless nights upon her face. "Soo-yeon," he said with feigned concern. "You look pale." "Look, Miran and I came to make sure you receive the best treatment." Miran smiled, though her eyes gleamed with provocation. "Darling, you truly need rest. Life out there is far too harsh for certain people." Soo-yeon did not respond. She simply looked into Miran's eyes, then turned back to her husband. "Jae-hwan, you think silence has destroyed me, but it protected me. While you squandered my inheritance, I was discovering who you truly are." He laughed, trying to maintain control. "More delusions." He turned to the director. "This is exactly why she needs to remain here." At that moment, the door burst open. Park Jin-woo entered, followed by two men carrying official documents, and guard Do-hyun, visibly nervous. "Mr. Min Jae-hwan," Jin-woo declared firmly, "by order of the court, your administration of Mrs. Han Soo-yeon's estate is suspended immediately." Silence fell over the room. "This is absurd." Jae-hwan rose in outrage. "No," Jin-woo continued. "What is absurd is committing your wife under a false diagnosis to seize her fortune. We have witnesses, including staff from this very place, and documents proving the transfer of properties into Co. Miran's name." Miran's face went pale. She stepped back trying to speak, but Jin-woo pressed on. "Furthermore, the law now demands that Mrs. Han be released immediately." The director, realizing he had no choice, motioned for the guards to open the door. Soo-yeon felt the cold air sweep in through the window, like the first breath of freedom in months. As she passed Jae-hwan, she stopped, staring straight into his eyes. "I loved you. And you sold me as if I were an object. Now, you will taste the silence you forced upon me." There were no screams, no dramatic scene. Only that look, laden with a silent promise of justice. Days later, Jae-hwan would face charges of fraud and forgery, while Miran disappeared from the city, leaving behind only her blue dress and her shame. Back at her home, Soo-yeon restored the lands, helped women who had suffered the same fate, and transformed the former asylum into a shelter for victims of injustice. The experience left deep scars, but also one certainty. Silence is not defeat, it is waiting. And when the truth rises, it speaks louder than any lie. In a time when women's voices were stifled, the courage not to give up became an act of resistance. Soo-yeon not only regained her freedom, she proved that truth, no matter how delayed, always finds a way to be heard. If this story moved you, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. I know many of you are watching, but not subscribing. It truly helps us keep bringing emotional stories like this one. Leave a comment telling us what you would have done in Soo-yeon's place, and share with those who love a good drama full of twists and turns.